You're back with Get Connected. Mike Agerbo here with John Beeler. Let's talk YouTube. This is an entire business category now. There are people that have large followings online that not only make thousands of dollars, some even make millions of dollars. And it all comes down to how many subscribers you get and what type of content you're doing. Obviously, I guess ad-friendly content. We have our own YouTube channel here for Get Connected. And just to give you an idea, this is something that we're looking at growing now because TV is dying. How many do we have? About 36,000.
36 or 37. I haven't checked as of today.
And so we do it to post all our content up there so we get wider exposure. But we're going to more and more so look at it as a revenue source for the brand. We need to make more so we can pay just for you alone, John.
Yes.
Well, we wanted to talk to some YouTubers out there on how they did it, how they created their own YouTube channel and built that up, and hopefully are making a bit of money with it. And I think a lot of times when you think of YouTubers, I think of these crazy young YouTubers.
The punks.
The punks, as I call them. But, is there an opportunity at any age to create a following online? Well, we've got a great guest and it is proof that you can make it on YouTube with, most types of content, especially if it's a passion of yours. His name's Chuck Hellebuyck. He has a YouTube channel called Filament Friday, and it's all based around 3D printing, which, John, I know is near and dear to your heart.
Right. I met Chuck a few years ago at the New York Maker Faire. And he was a friend of Joel's, Joel Tellings, who we've talked about before, who's also on YouTube as well and made a living from it. But Chuck has a really interesting story, I think, and a very relatable story for just about anybody, where he tried it and, he kind of got to a plateau. And then he revisited it, and then he's had a really great sort of run as of late. And I thought it'd be really great to have Chuck on to sort of tell that story and what he's doing and how YouTube has sort of been pivotal in that.
On the line, we've got Chuck Hellebuyck, the man behind Filament Friday, the YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us, Chuck.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Chuck, maybe you can tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, how old you are, and how you got into this.
Okay, I'm 58 years old, so I'm not a youngster by any means, but not too old to play around, have some fun. I got into this because I've always been involved with technology. I've written 10 books on electronics, which is really my background. I've written hundreds of articles, Nuts and Bolts Magazine, a few others. But over time, and I've published my own books, but over time, you could see that books were fading and video was really, the direction it was going. So about 5 years ago, I had a YouTube channel, but about 5 years ago, I started really focusing on it. I wanted to do electronic design, it's really Chuck Hellebuyck's Electronic Products. CHEP is the channel, and Filament Friday was one part of it. So I started doing 3D printing just as a sideline to the electronics, and that took off. And I was having a lot of fun with it. So I said, hey, I'll just keep doing videos on this, showing people how to get started, how to do things. And that's really how the channel started. I actually started about the same time as Joel Telling, who you mentioned.
Yeah.
We started about the same time, and then Joel left me in his dust, and took off.
He left everybody in his dust. He's
and
on
Joel
a rocket.
And I are good friends.
Yeah.
We talk all the time. But yeah, as you mentioned, I reached a plateau. What had happened is I grew pretty quick early on, but then I started focusing on things that I like to do, and I was just designing 3D prints, fixing things around the house, and really having a lot of fun with it. But I had a certain number of subscribers and views. Views are where the money is, right? Subscribers are nice, but views are where the money is. And it's not just about the money, but you want people to watch. And so I reached a point, I was about 4 years into it, and I was barely crawling to 25,000 subscribers. The views were about 2,000 to 3,000 consistently, and I just couldn't get out of that rut. And I had to kind of sit down and, really go through everything and admit that maybe I was the problem.
You looked inwardly.
Well, I had to. I talked to and listened to a lot of the experts out there, Tim Schmoyers and Daryl Evans and these guys. They tell you a lot of good advice, but it's like, you're better subscribe or better thumbnails and keywords and all these different things. I tried all that. I tried all the different things they said to do, and I really didn't see a difference. And I just kind of said, where's this going? Should I just kind of give up? Is it a young man's game or young woman's game? And say that's it? Or I was like, no, I still have the passion for this. I still have a dedicated following. I had Patreon supporters who were following me. I 2,000 to 3,000 consistently watching. So about a month prior to this point, I had released a video where I fixed one of my 3D printers. It had a unique clog, and I just fixed it, threw it up there. And I did two things that were unique about that. One is I was showing people how to fix a problem, not what I could do with a 3D printer. And two, I put in there the Amazon links to the parts that I actually used on this fix. And then I forgot about it. And so it's like 30 days later, I'm sitting there looking at this crawling to 25,000. And I said, hey, you know what? I got an email from a guy saying, I can't find those couplings that you had in that video. So I go, it's right there in the description, the link's there. He goes, no, they're out of stock. So long story short, I went and checked, and I'd sold quite a few of these couplings, and the video had gotten 10,000 views. And I was like, wow, I didn't even really notice it. I was so lost in, the overall picture. I missed the trees from the forest, right? And so it occurred to me that that's what my success was early, helping people. This video was helping people. And so I started doing a real deep dive search of what help people want. And there was two areas what I could see was help. One was a low-cost printer, Ender 3 had come out, and it needed work. I had one. I wasn't super impressed, but it was something that needed work, and it was a sub $200 3D printer, which a large part of the YouTube audience is 20 to 30 years old. That's the kind of money they've got. They're going to buy that type of printer. The other thing is I did a poll on my channel is what type of software slicer to use to convert your 3D prints into the G code that you actually put in the printer. And overwhelmingly, it was Cura Slicer, which I wasn't using. So I searched on both those, Ender 3 and Cura, and found out there wasn't a lot of help out there. Mm-hmm. So I started making videos on those two topics using my experience of the past 4 years, and like overnight, the channel just started to grow.
I will admit, I used one of your videos to fix one of my problems with my Ender 3.
And it worked?
It did, yeah.
It didn't blow it up?
No.
Okay.
No. It just...
There's a success story right there, Chuck.
Well, it's always helpful to have someone else walk you through it, especially if you've never done it before yourself. And that's really the amazing part of YouTube is you can see someone, as long as they can capture it well. Because I always find that some people leave out important steps. It's like, well, how did you get from, step 4 to step 5? There's a step 4.5 that's missing.
Exactly. We're talking with Chuck Hellebuyck. He is the man behind a successful YouTube channel called Chuck Hellebuyck's Filament Friday, or CHEP.
Electronic products.
Exactly. And we're going to have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about how he became successful with that channel and maybe some tips for other people out there that are passionate about some of the things they're doing in their life that they could potentially turn into a YouTube channel. You are back with Get Connected. Mike and John here. We're talking about YouTube and how you can potentially start your own YouTube channel and hopefully make it successful. We got Chuck Hellebuyck on the line. He is the man behind a pretty cool YouTube channel if you're into 3D printing and fixing 3D printers and what have you. Chuck Hellebuyck's Filament Friday.
In case you recognize his last name, he is the father of the goalie for the Winnipeg Jets.
Oh, we had to get that out there.
Well, because everyone will ask. It's a pretty unique name, I think.
Does he like 3D printers, Chuck?
No, he lets me do all his 3D printing.
Okay.
He needs something. Say, Dad, can you print this for me?
So, Chuck, obviously, this is something that you were proficient in, electronics and 3D printing. There's so many of our listeners out there that have all sorts of different types of talents. Is there any advice you could give to them on starting up a YouTube channel and building up subscribers and views?
Yeah, the biggest thing is follow your passion. And there's a lot of truth to that. But the biggest thing is it's not just your passion. It's what the audience's passion. And that's what you can't forget. As you're making something, you may be passionate about doing something and showing it off. But what is the audience? What are they gaining from that? And that's what I was that's where I changed. I went from what I was doing, what I loved, and some people loved, to what a lot of people loved. And it's really the topics that you choose. All the keywords and thumbnails and all that really, to me, are just like 10% of the success. 90% of it is the topics that you choose and then how well you deliver it. And it takes time to build that delivery. I had the advantage having, like I said, written 10 books. When you write a book and explain to somebody how to build something electronically, you got to explain step by step because they got to visualize that in their mind as they read. So that's what turned out to be the advantage for my channel, is I was able to do that, show those step by step, which you mentioned as you followed my video to fix something. Is that became my strength, and that's what I recognized, and I followed that success of helping people get started with what's relatively new, 3D printing. I've been doing it for over 5 years, so some of this stuff is a bit boring for me, but at the same point, I try to remember where I stumbled and how I can help, and then take a lot of the feedback, answer those questions, and then turn that into videos. So I guess that's the biggest thing, is do what your audience requires or needs, and you'll probably grow.
And I think that's a key point, Chuck, is that you really need to engage with your community to find out what they want, fill their needs, maybe remind them, give them some refreshers every once in a while, because you're going to have some new people joining the audience. It takes a lot of work just for that stuff, though, doesn't it?
Oh, there's so much behind the scene, and doing that and trying to choose your topics for your videos, filming it and editing it and putting it up, which a lot of people talk about. That's really only about half the job. The rest is actually figuring out what's interesting. What will people actually watch? And you can make the best video, but if no one's going to watch it, what difference does it make? So that's true in television or anywhere else. You got to choose an interesting topic.
So Chuck, you've been into electronics for many years, and at some point, you opened your YouTube channel, and how did you figure out what people wanted to watch? Like you said, it's important. Obviously, you got to be passionate about what you're creating, but the most important part is that you're creating something for an audience. Like, how did you figure out what the audience wanted?
I mean, there's a lot of different avenues, but one, Google Trends will give you a key what people are searching for right now. That's free. You can go out there and get that. You can just search YouTube yourself on certain keywords. Like I said, the Ender 3 I knew was a popular printer because I'm passionate about printing. It was popular. I had one. I had done a poll with people. They said Cura Slicer. So then I started searching on YouTube myself if I wanted to watch something or what was out there. There wasn't a whole lot. But yet when I went to Google Trends, it was telling me those were popular topics. So to me, there was a gap there. I do have a software called TubeBuddy, which does do some keyword searching for you, but it's really just a matter of like you would do anything else. Do your own investigation like you were a person wanting to do it, and then find where the gaps are, and then maybe that's where you want to do a video.
We're talking with Chuck Hellebuyck about his YouTube channel. That particular one's all about 3D printing, but I mean, you could really take it down into any subject matter, whether that would how to buy groceries or rose gardening or fishing, for that matter.
Oh, there's no doubt. In fact, I have a MIG welder. I used to stick weld all the time, so I've been using a MIG welder. I'm trying to get some tips. I bet you I went through about 15 different YouTube videos, and no one just got to the point. And finally, I found it was an older guy. He was obviously experienced, and he just went step by step. Here's some tips for getting started. And within like 10 minutes, I'd learned so much from this guy. I go, that was a great video. And he had a lot of subscribers and a lot of views. But it's just something like that. He knew his stuff. He knew where beginners were going to fail, and he put it in his video, quick to the point, answered those questions.
Production value. Do you need a lot of equipment?
Oh, that's the biggest. No, I do my whole videos, all my videos on an iPad.
Really?
It's not even the latest. It's one generation back. But I've done everything on my iPad. I edit in iPad for iMovie.
Wow.
And then I use a Snowflake microphone connected to it. So it's connected, not wireless, through a USB to Lightning connector. And the whole channel for 5 years has been done that way. when people who make YouTube videos and that find out that's how I'm doing it, they're just shocked. They can't tell that that's how I'm doing it. But so I'm convinced no. I mean, better equipment would give me a little better picture, but it doesn't stop my growth.
So Spielberg's not going to be calling anytime soon.
Certainly not. But if he calls, I'll answer.
We've been talking with Chuck Hellebuyck. He's got a great YouTube channel called Filament Friday. If you want to learn more about 3D printing, I suggest you check it out. Chuck, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, sure. Just if they need to get a hold of me, it's filamentfriday.com. Take you right to the channel.